My dad and his wife threw my mom's things in the trash, and I took them back out and refused to give them back. My mom died when I, 17 female, was 10, and my dad remarried almost 3 years ago. Last month, my dad's wife got mad at my dad for keeping so many of mom's things or things that symbolized their marriage. He kept her engagement and wedding ring in a box, his own on a chain around his neck, my mom's postcard collection that she started as a kid, her favorite stuffy, a bottle of her perfume, her keychain, her passport holder, cooking and baking books she used to experiment with, and a locket she wore all the time. My brother, 20 male, and I got her jewelry and other items she had. They were shared between us after mom died, and they're at our aunt's house for safekeeping. My dad's wife said she wanted all that stuff gone, and the wedding photos and any couple photos of them and any family photos had to be put away if mom was in them. But the rest had to go. My dad fought back for like a day, and then they started throwing all the stuff in garbage bags and they were brought out to the trash. When they weren't looking, I took all of it and brought it to my aunt's to keep it safe. It took 2 days for my dad's wife to realize the trash was empty, and then she and my dad realized I had taken the stuff. My dad's wife went crazy and said they were in the trash for a reason. I told her I wasn't letting my mom's stuff go like that. She said it doesn't need to be in her house, and I said it wasn't anymore, and she wouldn't need to see it. She said it was nothing but bad memories and they didn't need to be in her and dad's marriage. I told her she didn't need to worry and they weren't dad's anymore. Dad told me to just give the stuff back to them and they'd deal with it, and I refused. His wife said she wasn't allowing that kind of disrespect in her house, and Dad said it'd be dealt with. They asked a few people if they had them and all said no, including my brother, who let them know he thought they were both disgusting and he didn't want to talk to them again. When that didn't work, my dad tried to convince me again and he failed. He said I was making it worse. My dad's wife told me she's my stepmother and more deserving of respect. I said she'll never be my stepmother. She'll never be my family. She's just my dad's insecure second wife, who'll never be good enough to be seen as family by me or my brother. I told her I'm not giving them back. She tried to get the police involved and accused me of stealing, but they brushed her off because I live in the house and took them from the trash, so she said I'm a thief and the most disrespectful kind there is. She asked, was doing this worth hurting my relationship with them, and I told her I didn't care about having a relationship with her to begin with. I told her she was nothing to me and to stop acting like she has some kind of real authority over me. I told her I was willing to accept whatever consequences they gave because I would be leaving as soon as possible, and nothing she said or did would stop me. My dad stopped her from taking everything I own as leverage, but he's still applying pressure. It's been annoying to deal with, but could be way worse. But I came here to find out from outside parties if they think I'm wrong for what I'm doing. Am I the a-hole? Breaking up with my boyfriend because he lost my dog. Me, 24 female, and my boyfriend, 24 male, have been together for almost 4 years. We get along okay for the most part. Things like him losing something of mine have happened, but never to this level. I have had my dog, Milo, 12 female, for her whole life. We grew up together, and it's really hard for her to get to trust other people. She has always been an anxious girl, but she is the light of my life and was always by my side even in my worst days. 3 years ago, I introduced my boyfriend to my family, which is just my mom and Milo. He and my mom got along okay, but he did not acknowledge Milo in any way, which is fine. I did not expect him to be all over her, considering she does not like that, but I still found it pretty strange because he said he absolutely loved dogs, and to be honest, I believed that because he would always pet dogs when we were outside. Any interaction for the past 3 years with her was limited, but Milo warmed up to him, she would greet him, go to him for pets, which he sometimes gave, and accepted him on our daily walks. 1.5 years ago, Milo got sick. She had a tooth infection, which was pretty bad. Her whole right eye was swollen shut. I asked my boyfriend to take us to the vet because I don't have a car. The vet took care of the infection, gave me some antibiotics to give her every day, and instruction to clean the wound that was left after the vet cleaned the pus. For a couple of weeks, I did not hang out that much with my boyfriend. I took care of Milo because she was not feeling great. One thing that stood out to me was the fact that he seemed pretty pissed every time I brought her up, talking about her progress. Looking back, that should have risen some red flags, but I guess I brushed it off. Now that I gave you the short version of the past, this is what's happening in the present. I planned with my mom to go on a short vacation to visit my grandparents. I was talking to my boyfriend about this trip and I told him who would take care of Milo, my best friend Alex. My boyfriend then offered to take care of her, He was mad that I did not come first to him, stating that he loves Milo and wants to go on walks with her. I reluctantly agreed, considering this love for her was out of the blue. The trip was supposed to last 3 days. On day 2, I was talking with my boyfriend on the phone, and he casually says that Milo really likes to stay outside. For me, this felt off, and asked him what he meant. He left my sweet girl outside, hours at the time, alone, and would check up on her hourly. Mind you, I live in an apartment and I don't have a backyard. Me and my mom left as soon as I told her, and we arrived back home at around 9 p.m. Since then, I blocked my boyfriend on everything and have been searching for my girl. I have printed posters, went out every day for hours at a time, and put her on Facebook groups around my area. Now, he and his friend group say I'm an asshole because I have put my dog above my boyfriend in all of our 4 years of relationship. My ex came today to get his stuff, and some of you might be happy for what you are about to read, but he did not get a single thing back. When he saw me, he started begging me to forgive him, and thanks to you again, I agreed to forgive him if he told me the truth. He just looked me straight in the face and said, "If I'm going to be honest, you won't forgive me." My heart broke all over again, thinking about the worst of things. When he saw me cry, he told me I should get over it because she was already old, but if I really wanted her back, I should get back with him. And when he trusts me that I really forgave him, I could see her again. I was exhausted, hopeless, and angered, and even though I wanted my girl back, I could not look at him, let alone be with him for however long he thought it took me to forgive him. So he left, not telling me a single thing about Milo. I got a call some hours later, and on the other end was a lady who found Milo on the side of the road. She told me she would wait for me to come, because when she wanted to pick her up, she seemed to be in pain. When I got here and saw her, laying there, all my emotions flooded me. My sweet baby, even though she looked so different, was alive. She is now staying overnight at the vet. She has 2 broken ribs and is dehydrated. If everything goes well, she will be home soon. I appreciate each and every one of you that took the time to guide me in this nightmare. Thank you again. I will be pressing charges. Update: I have pressed charges and I now have a lawyer. I unblocked my ex like some of you said, and it was the best thing I did. He is incriminating himself and my lawyer believes we have chances of winning. Also, I might be able to get a protection order. His friend group has apologized, his mom is in contact with me. Milo will be home later today, and she has very good chance of making a full recovery, at least physically. My locks will be changed tomorrow. Thank you all so much. I am sending you and your pets the warmest hugs. Will I be the a-hole if I divorce my husband just for asking to be polyamorous? This is really upsetting to me on all accounts, and I'm getting mixed opinions from the few real-life people I've talked to about it. So I could use the advice of total strangers. I, 26 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been married for just over a year, and together for 4. We spent a long time before getting married talking about what we wanted out of being married, so I thought we were on the same page about all the important things. I do love him very much. He is sweet, helpful, and generally my dream partner until last week. Out of the blue, he sat down one night and said he wanted to talk about something. I thought it was just something minor he was frustrated about, or a bad day at work or something. Instead, he talked about how he found out that his best guy friend and his wife are polyamorous. He and his friend have been talking about it more, and he thinks he might like to try it, and wondered what I thought. I felt instantly sick to my stomach. We've always had a great sex life, and he's never given me any reason to think he was interested in anyone else. I told him that I'm not interested in being in a polyamorous relationship. I want to be monogamous with him for the rest of my life. If it had stopped there, I don't think it would have gotten so bad. But then he asked if I would read about it and then decide. I said no. I already know how I feel about it. He asked if I would at least think about it, and for some reason that just did something to me. Like instant revulsion, kind of upset. I got up and told him that I was too upset to keep talking and that I needed some space, so I would sleep in the guest room that night and we could talk later. Ever since that night, I have the biggest ick anytime I see him. He keeps trying to backtrack, but I know he meant what he said about wanting to be polyamorous. It's not so much that he brought it up, it's the 2 other asks after I already said I would never be comfortable with it. It's like that didn't matter to him, he thought he could convince me, and it makes me feel awful. What else is he going to pressure me about if I say no? And if he already wants to sleep with someone else, how can I ever trust him not do it behind my back? I'm still sleeping in the guest room, and I'm thinking of just asking for a divorce now when it would be simpler to divide everything up and go our separate ways, instead of waiting until years down the line when I get my heart broken. He could go do whatever he wants, and I could find someone who just wants a good, solid, monogamous relationship with me. The idea is killing me, but I feel like it's going to hurt now no matter what I do. While I do still love him, I don't think I can ever unhear and unsee my husband asking me for an open relationship, and the idea of him touching me makes me feel ill. He's upset and frustrated that I'm punishing him for asking a question, but I honestly don't know what he expected to happen. There is a part of me that thinks maybe divorcing him is being overdramatic, but also, the ick is so strong that I don't have much hope of getting back to where we were. Update. I'm going to take the advice to get an STI test, and my gyno is going to work me in today for that. I don't think he would physically cheat, but better safe than sorry. I do think there is probably someone he's interested in, possibly his friend's wife, or maybe even his friend. He's never expressed being bisexual, but that doesn't mean he isn't. I don't know them very well, so I can't speculate on their role in all of this. I'm going to be charitable and assume there are no machinations from their end, and he just picked this up from his friend and ran with it. I want to be clear that I am not ignoring him. We can talk about whatever else is going on, but I'm not ready to continue this conversation with him, and he knows that. I want to be calm for that, and his behavior is not really conducive to a sense of calm right now. Every time he brings it up makes me a little more disgusted with him, but he seems intent on digging the hole instead of letting things settle. That and not taking the first no for an answer is a bigger issue than the poly ask for me. I think I'm going to meet with a lawyer just to go over options. At this point, I don't have a lot of faith in counseling changing how I feel about him now, but I would be willing to try a few sessions to say we gave it a shot. I'll throw that out there tonight and see what he says. Update. He doesn't think counseling is necessary. He just wants to go back to the way things were before bringing it up. I've told him that's not an option. You can't unbreak a bone, it has to heal instead. I asked him if he had someone in mind, and he said no, but he's not a very good liar, and I don't really believe him. He says it was just an idea and there's no one and nothing has happened, but he also doesn't want to show me the messages between him and his friend, so I can understand the content of the conversation they had. I will respect his choice, but it's enough to convince me that there's something he's hiding, even if it's not an affair in progress, and that's a problem. I've got an appointment with a lawyer in a few days. I'm going to wait until after that to make a decision, and I'm going to take a short trip alone to see my grandparents this weekend to get some fresh air and perspective. I'll try to update next week after all the test results come back and I've had a chance to look at all the facts with a professional. Update. I had a heart-to-heart with my grandparents this weekend and spoke with a lawyer yesterday. As of right now, I'm planning to move forward with the divorce. With no kids and no joint property or debt since we were waiting on buying a house till I'm finished with residency, it should be easy to split the financials. The lease on our apartment is up in a couple of months anyway, so I plan to move out after breaking the news and just pay my portion of the rent on the current place until it's renewal time. I'm heartbroken, but I'm convinced that this is the best move. I don't trust him anymore. I'm repulsed by his behavior since the ask, and I think it's best to cut our losses before digging the hole deeper. If he was willing to be transparent and do something to work on reestablishing trust, it would be different. But that's not the case, and I don't want to put in effort that he's not interested in putting in. I will be fine with time. So, yeah, not a happy ending, but I think it's in my best overall interest. And if he's not happy with monogamy a year into marriage, his best interest as well. Hopefully we can part ways quietly and without a lot of fuss. Update. Well, affair confirmed. The people who thought his poly friends were the ones involved called it right. Wife contacted me to come clean and apologize because they were both unaware I didn't know until now. They thought we had a don't ask, don't tell situation, so no fault to them. He lied to them too. It's been going on for a few months. A fellow resident needs a roommate, so I'm moving in with her in 2 weeks. My dad and uncle are going to come down to help and be my safety exit plan when I tell him it's over. The saddest part to me is that he's been a closeted bisexual all this time. He could have told me that at any point in the relationship, and I would have supported him or helped him get whatever support he needed. I'm hoping he'll be amenable to doing this quietly and quickly, because I know his family will lose their minds if they find out the whole situation, and I don't want that for him, as hurt as I am about it. I'm going to focus on work, and my soon-to-be roomie is going through a significant breakup as well, so I think we'll be good for each other. It's going to be okay eventually.
Let me set the stage. My wife and I have 2 daughters, 7 years apart. 19-year-old was at college in a different state when this happened. Girls are very different. 19-year-old is outgoing, even extroverted, loves meeting new people, trying new things, etc. 12-year-old is shy, a homebody, finds things she's comfortable with and sticks with them. In fairness, 19-year-old was kinda like this until she was 16 or so. Maybe it's genetic. A couple months ago, 12-year-old comes to me in my home office, obviously upset. Stammers a bit, then manages to tell me that she just got her first period. I play the supportive dad, comfort her, and get her a box of sanitary pads my wife had bought earlier in the year, guessing this was going to happen sooner or later, and go over the instructions with her. She goes into her bathroom, does what she has to do, thanks me for my help. I got her some ice cream and Midol. Told her there was nothing to be embarrassed about and she could always come to me for anything. Wife gets home later that day, daughter tells her what happened. Wife starts crying, "My little girl is growing up, etc." Then asks who should be invited to the period party, which I only knew of from listening to Bert Kreischer. If they were a thing when our 19-year-old started, she never asked for one. Daughter immediately closes off, says she doesn't want a PP, doesn't want anyone to know. Wife tries to talk to her some more, but daughter ignores her and goes to her room. Wife tries to enlist my aid in changing her mind, but I tell her, she said she didn't want one, don't worry about it. 2 days later, I get home from running errands, and before I can even make it to the stairs, daughter runs up to me and asks if she can do her homework in my office. I'm confused, but say sure, and she bolts upstairs. At this point, I started to suspect what was going on, and walked into the living room to find that my wife had not only decorated it like something which wouldn't have looked out of place on my super sweet 16, but there were several family friends, all women, and a few I recognize as neighborhood mothers. I beckon wife into the hall. She asks where daughter is, and I tell her she wanted to do homework in my office. She rolls her eyes and starts to move past me, but I step in front of her. Me. What are you doing? Wife. Going to get daughter, it's her party. Me. She told you specifically she didn't want one of these. Wife. Oh, she didn't mean that. This is an important time for a girl. She needs to know not to be ashamed of her body. Me. She's not. I already explained things to her. She just doesn't want to talk about it more. Wife. I don't expect you to understand. This is just for us women. She actually tried to push past me, but I stepped into the doorway and completely blocked her. Wife. What's wrong with you? Me. What's wrong with you? You know how shy she is. You knew she didn't want you doing something like this, and you did it anyway. Wife. I told you, it's for her own good. We can't let her grow up with a negative attitude towards something so natural. Me. And we're not, I told you. She knows what's going on. She's getting a handle on it. She just doesn't want to talk about it with anyone else for right now. Wife. Well, it wasn't your business to tell her about it anyway. Me. You were at work. Was I supposed to ignore her for 4 hours until you got home? Wife. You could have called me. I would have come home. Me. It still would have taken you an hour. She was upset. I knew what was going on. I talked her through it. Wife. You don't know anything about it. It's never happened to you. At this point, I gave up. Point to my wife, no, I've never had a period. But I had 3 older sisters and a live-in girlfriend before my wife and I met. Plus, we've been married almost 21 years. I'm pretty well versed. She again tries to move past me, but I don't move. Me. No, she doesn't want this. I'm not letting you make her do it. Wife. Fine. Have it your way. She goes back to the living room and tells the other ladies the PP is off because I'm being an a-hole. I lose it, follow her in, and let the women know, calmly but in no uncertain terms, that I appreciate what they wanted to do. But daughter made it explicitly clear that she did not want this party, and my wife is trying to pressure her into it. Several of the moms frown at her. My wife starts to backpedal, talking about how she didn't think daughter was being serious, but I ignore her and begin taking down the decorations. Everyone clears out shortly, And once the coast is clear, daughter comes back downstairs. My wife gives her a half-baked apology, again saying she didn't think daughter was serious. But daughter also ignores her and just starts doing her homework in her usual place at the table. My wife was angry at me for a week, claiming I undermined her authority as a parent, apparently by not helping her force our daughter into doing something she didn't want to do, and made her look bad in front of the neighborhood moms by telling them she'd been doing this against our daughter's wishes. Daughter did in fact get the talk from wife when she turned 12. So she knew what was happening, but it was still something she hadn't experienced before, so it threw her a little. I emailed my 2 closest sisters, and they both said, in their opinions, her reaction was normal. As one of them put it, even at best it can be a shock, regardless of whether or not you're prepared for it, because it just happens. And even if you've felt PMS-style symptoms, without ever having felt them before, you might not guess what they are until afterward. Before we had kids, wife and I agreed we would treat boys or girls the same when it came to bodily functions. I.e., we'd make sure boys would be comfortable going to her with questions or problems if I wasn't around, and vice versa. And over the years, we would keep up with age-appropriate literature so we'd be equally informed. Just so happened, we only had girls. Around 10 or so, when they started wanting more detailed explanations of where babies come from and such, we always conducted such conversations as a team, making it clear to each of them they could count on either of us. That being said, there have been some things which I never took part in. For example, the 19-year-old never asked me to take her bra shopping. That was all wife. She did, however, occasionally ask me to pick up tampons or such in the years before she went to college. So, after a few days, things around the house went back to normal. Wife cooled off, daughter began talking to her again, and they didn't appear to have any issues. Except that daughter began coming to me more often about things instead of her mom. Wife obviously noticed, as they'd been very close before this, and was hurt, but said nothing. I guess she figured she deserved it. Finally, one day after I got back from taking daughter to school, wife asked if daughter was still angry with her. I said I didn't think so, and wife just kinda deflated. She looked so miserable that I actually got worried, and asked if she was still angry. Wife said no, then admitted that she'd effed up and gotten too into the concept of what others here have called menstruation celebration, which is a great phrase, it even rhymes. Said she'd been so focused on making sure daughter had a positive experience that she brushed aside her reluctance to take part, and in my wife's defense, daughter regularly does this. She'll say she isn't looking forward to doing something, but if she pushes past her shyness and takes part, nearly always has a good time. So wife had thought this was just another example of daughter doing that, and didn't take it seriously. Yeah, that old woman is a piece of work. Wife was determined she wouldn't behave like that towards our daughter when it happened. But as events show, she basically went too far in the other direction. Then she asked me what I thought she could do to fix this. I told her the truth. Daughter probably wasn't going to feel comfortable confiding in her again for a while. But if she really wanted to apologize, she should tell daughter what she just told me. And so she did. Wife went to pick daughter up from school, and when they got home, I saw they'd both been crying, but also seemed happier. Turned out I wasn't quite right, and daughter had still been harboring some resentment toward wife for trying to push her into the party. But after hearing wife's story, daughter decided to forgive her, only asking that wife promise not to do something like that again. And 2 months later, this happened in May, things between them seemed to be back to normal. Maybe not the most exciting resolution, but I don't think daughter is going to hold a grudge over this, or has permanently damaged their relationship.